What did I say 1 year ago? I literally said that MAGA is about defunding Black America. I said MAGA's whole focus is fixated on doing all they can to destroy, to literally destroy the entire Black infrastructure. They want to destroy the Black political infrastructure. They want to destroy the Black economic infrastructure. They want to destroy nonprofits. I can go on and on and on what their entire effort is in terms of what it is that they actually want to do. And remember when Charlie Kirk was attacking the Civil Rights Act of 1964? Y'all pull that up. And so why is that important? Because this is who they are. This is what they are about. Well, Donald Trump did an interview with the New York Times. And Donald Trump talked about the Civil Rights Act and talked about how, oh my God, how white people, how it has hurt white people so much as a result of the 64 Civil Rights Act. Now you might say, well, wait, hold up. Did he actually say that? Yeah, he actually said it. Y'all pull the article up as well. But I told y'all this was coming. I told y'all that these people, they've always despised the 64 Civil Rights Act, the 65 Voting Rights Act, and the 1968 Fair Housing Act. They believe that the downfall of America began with these civil rights laws. They do. They do. They believe in it. That's what they actually think. And so they've always trashed it. This is Charlie Kirk right here talking about MLK and the Civil Rights Act. Listen.
We note in our piece that Kirk describes King as, quote, a bad guy. It's true. And Kirk self-described very, very radical view that the country made a mistake when it passed the Civil Rights Act. Also true. As we note in the piece, Kirk has previously described Kirk as a hero and a civil rights icon. It's true. I used to be wrong. What inspired Kirk to shift his view on MLK? Why does Kirk think that MLK is a bad guy? When Kirk says that MLK says, quote, one good thing he didn't believe, what does he mean by that? Why does Kirk believe passing the Civil Rights Act was a mistake? Now, again, apparently they don't listen to the show because we do that at least once a week, right? Once a week we talk about why the Civil Rights Act was a mistake. I put a post. We note in our piece that Kirk describes King as, quote, a bad.
You heard what he said. We talk about once a week why the Civil Rights Act was bad. See, so some of y'all might be sitting here saying, okay, well, I don't get it. Well, remember when we talked about that. Remember what happened? This is Trump right here. Revoking the Equal Employment Opportunity Executive Order of 1965, which barred discrimination from housing. It barred discrimination, not housing, when it came to government contracts. This is who Donald Trump is. And so when he talks about whites being treated badly, and so it's because it's all about white grievance. What did I say in my book, White Fear? I said in 2009. In 2009, I said this, that we're living in the age of white minority resistance. I said in 2009 that white people are so angry because of what they believe blacks are getting too much. And so we've seen that over and over and over again. And so now we see the equal employment, here the EEOC saying, oh my God, if you're white, then if you've been discriminated against, please let us know. And so this is the article right here. Trump says civil rights led to white people being very badly treated. So this was an interview with the New York Times. It says, speaking to the New York Times on Wednesday, Trump echoed grievances amplified by Vice President J.D. Vance and other top officials who in recent weeks have urged white men to file federal complaints with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. When asked whether protections that began in the 1960s, spurred by the passage of the Civil Rights Act, had resulted in discrimination against white men, Mr. Trump said he believed, quote, a lot of people were very badly treated. White people were very badly treated where they did extremely well and they were not invited to go into a university to college. He said in paying reference to affirmative action in college admissions. So I would say that way, I think was unfair in certain cases, he added. I think was also, at the same time, it accomplished some very wonderful things, but it also hurt a lot of people. People that deserved to go to a college or deserved to get a job were unable to get a job. So it was reverse discrimination. And here we go. It was the reverse discrimination. Now, quoted in the article, Derek Johnson, president of the NAACP, said, quote, there was no evidence that white men were discriminated against as a result of the civil rights movement, the Civil Rights Act, and efforts to rectify the long history of this country, denying access to people based on race in every measurable category. All right, so I told y'all this was coming. I told y'all. So their entire agenda, Project 2025, is about showcasing, oh my God, how rough these things are for white men. And so we need to understand what people need to wake up, Congo, to understand what is happening. They want to destroy any programming, anything dealing with race, because they don't give a damn about white folks having control. They don't care about discrimination against black people. They don't care about that. Their whole deal is oh my God, how things have been so awful for white people that let's eradicate all these programs because they think their world is falling apart. And what this really is about, white folks not being able to handle the browning of America.
Seen so many posts in different places from people saying it's like y'all literally have everything, the Supreme Court, the House, the Senate, the presidency. You look at the CEOs of corporations, the heads of the majority of these universities. I mean, you can run down the actual list. And you see people like Christopher Rufo who put it out there clearly that they were going to target us. If you look across every industry, federal workers, people who are getting fired from corporate spaces, people who are getting fired from universities, programs that are being cut, university admissions. My daughter's applying to schools this year. You see the numbers decreasing for Black people and especially Black women across the board. So everything that you said in 2009, I remember you talked about being on a panel with somebody from CNN and they were like, oh, you're just being kind of extra with it. It's all playing out, and it's playing out on steroids, and it hasn't even been a full year. We're almost at a full year with this man. So there's only going to be more of it. Stephen Miller's white supremacy has been completely unleashed over, 400,000 women now, Black women as it relates to the workforce. It is only going to get worse. And then you add ICE into it, you add what's going on in immigration, you add what's going to be going on with our schools. So when Trump talks about, some people couldn't go to college, which is an absolute lie, he's trying to have every type of way possible to put out more trigger words to rally up more white people who maybe have a little bit problem with what Trump's doing here and there, but he's giving them more chum. He's giving them more things to say, oh yeah, that's right. They did that. And so I'm now going to continue to be mad. And the fact that his base keeps falling for it when it's been clear that he doesn't give a damn about them, as long as he continues to give them racism as it relates to us and they keep falling for it. But at the end of the day, Roland, it is very clear that this was predicted. You stated it clearly in the book, and you stated it every year since. And if people don't wake up to that right now, I don't know if they're ever going to wake up.
But it's not a question of waking up, Terry Ann. These conservative voters, this is what they believe. They believe, oh my God, we're losing opportunities because of those people. And here's what the real deal is. What they cannot stand is they now have to compete. The reality is these white folks they've lived this life, and all these young white men who are so mad, and they're not just mad at Black people, they're also mad at white women. Oh, we're losing opportunity. Because see, here's the problem. These white folks believe that every job is theirs. They believe that every spot in a university is theirs. They believe that every contract is theirs. When that white woman, Abigail Fisher, sued the University of Texas because she couldn't get in and she had to go to Michigan, well, when they went through the actual courts, they realized that there were white people who had grades less than her, but they were admitted for other reasons. So she was running around thinking, oh, I didn't get this because of Black people. No, boo, you didn't get in the University of Texas because white people got in, not Black people. And so this is their problem. They believe, oh, I've got the grades, I've got this. So for them is, how dare you not accept me into the university, but you keep accepting those people. This is absolutely white supremacy. This is white privilege. This is this belief that we expect everything. When they talk, they say, that was my job. That's literally what they say and they think.
Yeah, two things. So number one, when we talk about white men and then they are asking white men who feel that they have been discriminated against to file suits to come forward. What they are trying to do, I believe, is to take this all the way to the Supreme Court, because as it stands, when you have a discrimination lawsuit, white men are not considered a protected class. So race, sex, age, etc. Those are protected classes. So I think if they can create a case and take it to the Supreme Court, then they know this Supreme Court that is in the hands of the Trump administration will vote to then make white men a protected class. And then all bets are off as we go through what qualifies as discrimination. Number two, you are spot on when you are saying that there is this inherent belief that it is rightfully theirs. And so this is how the MAGA nation functions. At its core, at its baseline, is an assumption that they are entitled to all of those things. And by extension, that any person of color who gets it is woefully unqualified, because it can't be that they are more qualified than the white person who didn't get that thing. If we look back at the race riots that have occurred in this country, 1906 in Atlanta, 1898 in Wilmington, all of these different race riots that occurred, it is the prosperous Black people who are attacked first, because it grates on the nerves of local racists that they were able to achieve anything. When we talk about DEI initiatives in this country, there is a conflation that the Trump administration and others have created that conflates DEI with incompetence. The actuality is that women who are white women who are the most benefactors of DEI and people of color who have been given an opportunity because of any kind of initiative, they typically actually have to outperform their white male counterparts. They do better, they score higher, they've gone to better schools. But if they can make a MAGA nation believe that DEI means you are less qualified and you are taking what is rightfully mine because as a white person, it is my thing, then they can create an army of people to support the initiatives that the administration is putting out, even if those initiatives are going against their core values and things that will help them advance.
So folks just need to understand in terms of what this thinking is. So this is Benny Johnson. Remember, he got a whole bunch of money from the Russian company, one of these crazy deranged MAGA folks who's always espousing these white values. Well, listen.
And so that's what they did in the military. They actually targeted the military specifically, installed the wokest, weakest, saddest, most wicked generals in American history, and they used the military not for war fighting, but for societal and social experimentation with their pagan religion. Remember the recruitment ads from the Biden era? I marched for civil rights with my two moms, and that's why I'm in the Army. What? What does that have to do with war fighting? This has not, I mean, it was a contagion, a wokeness contagion that traveled through the ranks of the military at light speed by design because they were able to perform institutional capture and try and convert this entire organization to their religion. And that's what they did. And it was very dangerous. And it weakened America. And everybody watched what happened in Afghanistan, and everybody's watched what has seen what's happened over the last couple of years with our military. Recruitment numbers through the floor. Because young men who fight and die in all your wars don't want to sign up to serve under someone who attacks white rage. White rage is how you win a war. That's how America's always won wars. Idiots. Attack white people. They don't want to serve for leader. Young white men don't want to sign up for leadership that doesn't know what a man is or that hates white people. And then they're like, why do we have a recruitment problem? Because we don't want to be part of your pagan religion. I mean, because we want to live normal lives, upstanding moral lives. We have a moral and good nation. That's why. And this is what they've done, the military. And this is what's being undone right now. And this is why young men are signing up at record numbers.
To understand, folks, and I keep telling y'all, they hated what took place after George Floyd was murdered. They hated the response. But the response that these white conservatives hated, they hated that young white people and Latinos and Asian Americans were so shocked and stunned by the callous murder of George Floyd that they began to respond. So they said, oh, no, we can't have that. People like Benny Johnson, oh, yeah, these MAGA people, they said, Project Heritage Foundation, Project 2025, they said, oh, no, we can't have that. No, we got to destroy Black Lives Matter. We have to destroy the movement. They attacked BLM, like they attacked, like they used COINTELPRO to attack civil rights organizations. The exact same thing. That was 2021. 2022, all of a sudden, critical race theory. It's Christopher Rufo and his whole group. 2023, oh, let's attack woke. 2024 is attack DEI. So they attach woke and DEI to everything. And so the white rage that Benny Johnson's talking about is they want to enrage white people. You have studies now where white people believe that they are twice as likely to face discrimination than black people. How many white folks have you heard impacted by redlining? How many white people have you heard who have had to deal with homes being appraised at a much lower value than the black? Y'all, come on. But this is what it is. Because what is happening, Terry Ann, and it's sitting here, what they cannot stand, they cannot stand black success. And so it's, oh no, you're here because you're DEI. No, I'm here, I can kick y'all ass. See, that's what they can't stand. So what's driving them crazy is they don't have to compete. So these young white men who are like, oh my God, I couldn't get a writer's job in Hollywood. Really? And now what have you seen? The videos put out, UCLA, they put out last 5 years. No, not last 5 years. Last year, it was the whitest in terms of showrunners and leaders of shows, the whitest in 5 years. Because what Donald Trump has said is, oh, y'all forget diversity. You ain't got to hire diverse people. So you now have permission, go back to how you used to hire, hiring your friends, hiring your friends' friends. And so what they want is they want whiteness. What they want is they actually want Jim Crow America, just minus the colored fountains. They actually, Make America Great Again is really about make America white again. That's what the goal is. And so they want everything white. Corporate boards white. Universities white. They want contracts white. That's what they want, period.
You mentioned George Floyd. So 2020, we have a racial reckoning, and it's a very important moment in our history. So not only do we have George Floyd and we have the visibility of this kind of violence on television, we saw the video of Ahmaud Arbery. We heard the cries of Elijah McClain. All of that is happening within the context of a pandemic, when everybody was home watching television, where a pandemic that is laying bare the racial disparities in healthcare and health outcomes because that pandemic disproportionately impacted people of color. And so all of this coalesces to create this catalyzing moment for people across racial and ethnic boundaries to come together into the streets and be united to fight for change. That was the beautiful kind of silver lining and outcome of 2020. And then what do we have? Then we have a backlash to that progress. And that is nothing new in America. There's a backlash to the progress of Reconstruction. That is how we have the rise of Jim Crow that you are talking about. There was a backlash to the election of President Obama. That's why we have the 2013 Supreme Court case, Shelby versus Holder, that almost completely gutted the Voting Rights Act. So we are still in the midst of that backlash right now. And so CRT that they equate with something bad, DEI that they equate with unqualified. That's where we are right now. And we have to fight it, because if we cannot change the hearts and minds of people, what we can do is legislate the hell out of their ability to harm us. That is why, when we go back to what we talked about in the beginning of this call, that is why the vote is so eminently important. That is why at my organization, we do the work that we do.
This is the reality of what or where these folks are. For Trump, he's their great white hope. That's what he is. He's a great white hope. This is more from the New York Times article. Go to my iPad. He said, Trump has gone on to equate diversity with incompetence and inferiority and cast himself as the protector of white people, both at home and abroad. Asked on Wednesday whether his immigration agenda was aimed at making the country whiter, Trump said he wanted people to quote, that love our country. It's very simple, said Mr. Trump, who has carved out exceptions to his crackdown on refugee admissions for mostly white South Africans. I want people that love our country, he said. Carrying out Mr. Trump's agenda is the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, which was formed in 1965 under the Civil Rights Act. The commission's chair, Andrea Lucas, issued a striking video message last month underlining the agency's new posture. Are you white? Are you a white male who's experienced discrimination at work based on your race or sex? You may have a claim to recover money under federal civil rights laws. Contact the EEOC as soon as possible. Time limits are typically strict for filing a claim. Now, see, the thing here, Ome Congo, is what was also happening is that what they have been doing is they've also been filing various civil rights laws, utilizing the laws meant for black people against black people. For instance, you take the Civil Rights Act of 1866, okay? That was about protecting African Americans from being able to get contracts. They now are filing lawsuits against folk like the Freedom Fund and others who are creating economic opportunities for African Americans, saying, oh, that this stuff is discriminating against white people. That's what they're doing. They're filing lawsuits saying the Civil Rights Act of 1964, just hurts them. This is so what people have to understand is why we connect the dots and why we keep telling people you got to be paying attention to what's going on. Why I don't spend my time on all this entertainment and sports and all this other bullshit, because what they want to do, Ome Congo, is they want to be able to get rid of, one, or severely weaken all of these laws to allow the mindset of Jim Crow to come back to have Jim Crow 2.0.
Absolutely. I just submitted my manuscript for my next book on trigger words, and it talks about how these guys, Republicans, MAGA, even some liberals, use certain words to trigger people to do what they want, to basically do their bidding or unleash a lot of the hate that was already in them. And so you can see that Trump will never fully answer that question. He'll just say, we want people that love America. But then you'll see him in a press conference, a few weeks earlier when he says people from Somalia hate our country and they're garbage people. And so he's making it clear who he wants. Stephen Miller, the same thing. They'll never say it directly, but they'll just put out policies and they'll use language like, we want people that respect our civilization. J.D. Vance will say things like, 20 illegal immigrants in a house, it's not who speak all these different languages. It's not compatible with English-speaking neighbors. They run down the list of all of these trigger words. And like you said, it's just all racist. It's not even dog whistles, it's bullhorns. And we're all clear about it. And I wish more of these journalists would be more aggressive, obviously they're scared, to do it because they want to keep their access about this line of questioning, but it's they're saying enough that we should already know because it's coupled with their policies. It's like James Baldwin said, before, I don't know if you're racist, but I know that I'm not in your unions. I don't know if you're racist, but you run down the list. Every single action that they take is racist. When they make these job cuts, and even within the federal government, they're primarily keeping the white males in these departments, whether it's the Department of Education, run down the list. And so when you see their actions coupled with what it is that they're saying, just because they're not saying the N-word, just because they're not saying black, every single policy that they have is designed to destroy and defund Black America. And like you said, just make it just like what they're doing with Obamacare, right? Just make it so weak, so diluted that it's already gone. And so in using civil rights acts against us in our own, in the work that we're doing and putting out these bullhorns to let people know, hey, we're coming out here to protect y'all in every way, shape, and form. He has made it clear that this is an administration that is designed to protect white people and specifically white men. And they are not going to make any bones. They're not going to make any apology about it. They're going to claim it. They got whole networks out there that are going to supporting them in this mission as well. And once again, Trump said the only thing that can stop him is his own mind and his own morality. And when it comes to black people, he doesn't have any.
See, Terry Ann, what drove that tweet from the head of the EEOC was this article right here. So this white man, Jacob Savage, did this post in Compact called The Lost Generation. And all this thing boomeranged all across social media. And these white folks were just going crazy, talking about, oh my goodness, and how amazing this was. And so one thing the article says in here, it talked about how DEI hurt, look at this, how DEI really hurt white millennial men. And the doors seem to close everywhere and all at once. In 2011, the year I moved to Los Angeles, white men were 48% of lower level TV writers. By 2024, they accounted for just 11.9%. The Atlantic's editorial staff went from 53% male and 89% white in 2013 to 36% male and 66% white in 2024. Oh, so he's saddened that it went from 89% white to 66. White men fell from 39% of tenured track positions in the humanities at Harvard in 2014 to 18% in 2023. See, so really what and J.D. Vance shared this article, Stephen Miller shared, other people, they push it out because what drove them crazy was, and this is really what this is all about, Terry Ann, was angering them. What's angering them is, damn it, why do we have to share?
Mm-hmm.
Why must we share? And then he says something in here, give me a second, it was hilarious. This may be how Boomer and Gen X white men experience DEI, but for white male millennials, DEI wasn't a gentle rebalancing. It was a profound shift in how power and prestige were distributed. And so he goes on. So this whole article is complaining about, oh my God, how rough it was for us white men who are millennials. And what the white men who are millennials can't handle is this. That is, you're mad because your grandfather and your dad got to experience a white world. See, what white folks like Jacob and white folks like Trump and white folks like J.D. Vance refuse to want to accept is that the reason there was the imbalance because y'all kept qualified black folk, when I say qualified black folk, qualifying according to your standards. Let me just remind people, South Carolina, in South Carolina, to become a lawyer, you didn't have to go to law school. You didn't have to go to law school. But it was a black man who became a lawyer. They said, oh shit, no. We got to create something here. Oh yeah. So when you start talking about accreditation and all this sort of stuff, America used to have a number of black medical schools. Oh, but when they said, no, we need to be establishing some standards in this country. So therefore, we need to create some medical school standards. Massive number of medical schools went away. The reality is white folks have always changed the rule in America. White folks have always changed the rule when black people step in because we can't let them in. So now we got to change the rules because we can't let them in our house. And that's exactly what's going on here. And so what they're so mad about, they're so mad that they froze black people out. And so then when the civil rights movement comes up, all of a sudden the door wasn't blown open. The door was barely cracked. But all of a sudden, black folks begin to creep through corporate America. And black people start getting hired in media. And black people start politics. Okay? Shirley Chisholm was the first black woman elected to Congress ever. That didn't happen till the late 60s. And so they're angry that, damn, we white male millennials, why couldn't we get a piece of that white world? So what angers them is they now have to compete. Why are these white young men running around pissed off, mad at white women? Because they mad that white women took their jobs. Because white women are the greatest beneficiary of affirmative action in American history. So Terry Ann, so the real deal here is what these white folks cannot handle, what white millennials, white male millennials can handle, which is why Nick Fuentes is used as a weapon by the Republicans. This is why the Benny Johnsons of the world, the Charlie Kirks of the world, the Ben Shapiros of the world, they have to speak to white rage because what these white folks can't comprehend is, damn, you mean tell me that I can't have a Mad Men-like world? Damn, I can't have a world where my grandfather used to be able to smack a woman on the ass and grope her and pop the back of her bra strap. I can't act like that in the workplace because all these damn laws, these damn rules. Damn, you mean tell me that, wait a minute, these DEI programs, why we got to go hire people from these HBCUs? We had Bari Williams on the show. She talked about sitting there in Silicon Valley and they were going over applications and the white woman goes, oh, I've never heard of this college. And she threw, so she said, wait, hold up. She said, how are we not going to examine the sister's application because she went to a college you ain't never heard of? Because these white folks, oh no, I'm sorry, what's a FAMU? What a Spelman? I mean, I know the sister, I know Smith College, but what is this Spelman thing? The reality is what they desire is to maintain white elitism, white power structure, white economics, and freeze everybody out. And that's why Trump is doing what he's doing.
Hinged on an assumption, as I alluded to earlier, that people of color, particularly Black people, can't possibly achieve this thing. Listen, I got my doctorate from the University of Chicago, and I cannot tell you how many times, an endless number of times, and I've heard this from other Black people from University of Chicago, that somebody has asked me, where are you getting your doctorate? And I'll say, and they correct me, do you mean whatever other university? No, I said what I mean, because there's an assumption that I couldn't possibly be there as a Black woman. When the Tuskegee Airmen took their exams to become pilots, they outscored their white counterparts to the point where people actually thought that they cheated and made them take those tests again. This is an age-old assumption among what we now have as these MAGA individuals, that Black people cannot possibly have achieved this thing, and that I am not getting this thing because it's being taken from me, not because I don't have the wherewithal or the the achievements to be able to do this. So when you have articles like what you just had, where they're citing how white men used to have this and white men used to have that, and now they have XYZ, it is because it is being given to disqualified or underqualified people. That is the assumption. And what does that do? That creates a level of anger among them that fortifies a base of MAGA that then says, we will do your bidding for you so that we can make a white world. It is why we see such an increase in racial attacks, in race-based attacks during both Trump administrations, the last one and now this one, that people of color are being attacked more because of the kind of dog whistle that this administration is doing. And they're hinging it on a notion of white entitlement.
This is the line that I think is most important in the article to understand the mindset of Congo. When he says, for white male millennials, DEI wasn't a gentle rebalancing. It was a profound shift in how power and prestige were distributed. In right there. And that's what it boils down to. What drives these folks crazy, what drives them crazy, what's driving the Supreme Court case where they're going to make a decision that's going to gut Black power, political power across the South is shit. They passed that damn Voting Rights Act and they ass got some power. Mm-hmm. Shit. Mm-hmm. They passed that damn 64 Civil Rights Act. Now they ass got some damn power. You mean to tell me, damn. See, I need to take everybody back through history. The Civil Rights Bill, when Kennedy got elected, was one big ass bill. The Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, and the Fair Housing Act, that was all one bill. That was one bill. Mm-hmm. Kennedy gets assassinated November 22nd, 63. LBJ tells MLK, I cannot pass this bill. I cannot pass this bill. I cannot. Bryan Cranston, who plays LBJ in the HBO movie, Anthony Mackie plays MLK. There's a scene where literally LBJ tears out 2/3 of the bill. So the reason it was 3 bills, because it was broken up. The Civil Rights Act was 64. The Voting Rights Act was 65. But this is the piece that people don't seem to understand. Wait a minute. Now, how was Kennedy killed on November 22nd, 63? And then they passed the Civil Rights Act in 64 and the Voting Rights Act in 65. But what the hell took 3 years for the Fair Housing Act? It's because white Republicans were supportive of the 64 Civil Rights Act and the 65 Voting Rights Act said, now hold up. Now we opposed them Southern Dixiecrats and we gave the niggers, we'd say, all right, fine. Y'all can stay in hotels and y'all can ride buses and y'all can do public accommodations was the 64 Civil Rights Act. Now we gave them niggers the right to vote, which actually was given with the 3 Reconstruction Amendments, but they had to ratify the Voting Rights Act to make that thing real. All right, we then gave them niggers the right to vote. But wait, hold up. Y'all want us to support them niggers living next to us? Oh, hell no. We not doing that. See, I see some of y'all out there who ain't read. I want y'all to Google right now. I want everybody to watch. If you are listening to the sound of my voice or you're watching right now, I want you to actually Google. And Anthony, you can sit in and you can pull this up. I want y'all to Google Ronald Reagan and Governor of California and racial covenants. Y'all gonna see it right there. Now this, you see the AI overview, right there. As governor, Ronald Reagan opposed California's Rumford Fair Housing Act 1963, and he championed Proposition 14, a ballot measure to repeal it, arguing it violated property owners' rights to discriminate, a stance aligning with opposition to racially restrictive covenants that historically barred non-whites from neighborhoods. Reagan campaigned on this, quote, freedom to discriminate, though his own properties had such clauses which he claimed ignorance of. His stance, rooted in property rights, became a cornerstone of his conservative appeal, but the Supreme Court struck down Prop 14, eventually leading to federal fair housing laws. Now, y'all, I'm reading that for you because the white folks in California passed Prop 14, which said, I do not have to sell. I can put in the covenants, you don't have to sell to somebody black. What people don't understand is that it was a black Republican, Edward Brooke of Massachusetts, who ain't like these damn Republicans. He was a liberal Republican. It was Ed Brooke who broke the filibuster. People need to listen what I'm talking about. Ed Brooke, I'm gonna do this here again. Go back to my iPad. Ed Brooke breaks filibuster. Housing. Boom. Housing champion. Ed Brooke, this is the, so what happened? Ed Brooke fought for housing, and what ended up happening was you had all of these, let me pull up a separate story. All of these folk right here, how Brooks helped destroy public housing. That was public housing. So what ended up happening was, it was all about fair housing. This was being the housing law was being blocked. The housing law was being blocked in the United States Senate. Ed Brooke brokered to break the filibuster to advance the 1968 Fair Housing Act. That happened in February of 1968. Now some of y'all, now y'all going, okay, hold up. Then you're going, wait, I don't understand though. Wasn't the Fair Housing Act like signed later? Yeah, it was signed later. It was signed later. You know why? But mess y'all up. The Republicans were blocking it in the House. What happens? King gets assassinated April 4th, 1968. LBJ, again, this what happened when you read, LBJ and letter to House after MLK killed. LBJ sends a letter to the House. Let me I'm gonna say LBJ in housing letter. LBJ sends a letter to the House saying we need to sign this law that King gave his life for. That's what LBJ actually did. So y'all, they fought housing in this country. They fought housing in this country. So what Donald Trump is saying and what MAGA wants to do, MAGA is desperately, can we peel back housing? Can we peel back voting? Can we peel back 64 Civil Rights Act? Y'all, you peel those three back, you literally peel back 60 years of American progress. That, Ome Congo, is their ultimate goal. So they want to, by peeling back as much as they can, they want to, in essence, reinstitute Jim Crow. Again, not water hoses, not German Shepherds, not that aspect, but if they are able to completely, let's just say, this floor I'm standing on is the foundation. If I can take a jackhammer to the foundation of a house, then house can stay standing because the infrastructure has been broken apart. That is what their agenda is.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up, the various civil rights acts, and because so much of this involved the courts, and it makes me think about the John Roberts courts because they are also working. Supreme Court is working in partnership with Trump to do just that. This is why the late great Representative, John Lewis opposed the confirmation of Chief Roberts on the Supreme Court because he has always been somebody who's been about who's against any type of voting type of rights or access. This is the Supreme Court that's just destroyed affirmative action. This is the Supreme Court that has other types of rollbacks. And so we could talk about what Trump is doing, but he's doing it in partnership with them. Like you said, there are no Republicans like Brooks right now. And then you look at the House of Representatives as well. And so if people could just see that one of the things that Donald Trump, he's crazy, he's irrational, but he's also very methodical in terms of the people who are around him, the Stephen Millers of the world, people who know how to plan, people who know how to target various aspects of legislation with precision. The folks who are over at the Heritage Foundation, for example. And so you're absolutely right. They don't need to bring out the German Shepherds and the fire hoses. I would say they don't need to bring them out yet, but they are planning to do this and they're implementing it everywhere I go, Roland. When I'm speaking now, schools, colleges, and different places, the audiences are wider again. The companies, they're wider once again. The numbers are rising. You talked about the entertainment industry and how that's looking as well. Did you see that picture of the White House interns that people saw? Someone said, "Oh, I see great diversity here. I see tall white people. I see short white people. I see skinny white people." Like they're making it all for them in every way, shape, or form across every industry. And we don't even got to talk about what they're doing in the tech world as well. And so people, again, it's only been a year. It's only been a year, Roland. This is happening at a very fast pace. Project 2025, what did they want to do all of this in like 180 days? They might be a little bit behind, but they're not stopping. And so when people tie in this segment, people got to see this segment. I mean, goodness gracious, the way you tie in the civil rights movement, the way you tie in Lyndon B. Johnson, the way you tie in Kennedy, the way you tie in what's going on right now with the Rufos of the world, it's all being laid out. And the more you know, the more we can fight this, because the goal is to destroy the foundation, and they are putting holes and dents and cracks in the foundation every single day waiting for our house to crumble, and it's crumbling.
So, folks, just so you understand, again, this is all facts. King gets assassinated on April 4th, 1968. They had been fighting for 3 years. Yeah, the vote was 250 to 72. It was signed into law on April 11th. That was just 1 week later. It was King's assassination that caused America to pass this bill. King doesn't get assassinated, that bill don't get signed, and the fight continues. And so I just want people to understand what's going on, what's at stake, and you have to understand, y'all. Again, we have got to stop walking around here. There's this great scene in Scandal where Joe Morton character, Papa Pope, tells Kerry Washington's character, he said, "You're running around in a field of daisies while bombs are going off." No, he said, "You're running around in a field with bombs going off, and you're mistaking it as a field of daisies." There are black folks who are running around. And again, I understand the fun we're having, going to brunch and boots on the ground and dancing and enjoying ourselves. But bombs are literally going off all around us while some of us think that's fireworks. And do understand, these folks, this is about power. This is about control. This is about resources. This is about limiting opportunities. This is literally about how can they completely restrict the future advancement of African Americans in this country, where only a select few are allowed through. Folks, this is not a drill. This is for real.
At the end of the Selma to Montgomery March in 1965, Dr. King stood in front of the Alabama State House and told 25,000 Americans that the greatest threat to the greedy oligarchy is when poor blacks and poor whites and others mobilize together and form a voting bloc that can fundamentally shift the economic architecture of our nation. In America today, we have fewer voting right protections than we did when the Voting Rights Act was passed in 1965. And state legislatures have abused their power to try to pick their voters rather than let the voters pick their legislators. Meanwhile, every day people are suffering while the greedy get richer and richer. Dr. King was right, and many others were right. The billionaires who think they can buy our politicians are afraid of people coming together across dividing lines and building power together. In 2013 and 2014, we together in this state built out the Moral Monday movement. And in 2014, more than 80,000 people showed up in Raleigh for a mass people's assembly. We mobilized our power. We mobilized our vision. We did not continue to just resist what others were doing. We claimed the world that we wanted, the society that we wanted. And what we did energized. It was not partisan, it was principled. Here we are again now in 2026. And it's time to love forward together and mobilize. This is our Selma moment. And we need everybody, regardless of your race, your creed, your color, your religion, your sexuality, whoever you are. If you love voting rights for all, if you love abolishing poverty and bringing into reality living wage, if you love health care for all, if you love love and grace and mercy and do not want to buy into the religious nationalism of hate and meanness and a lack of empathy, if you want to love forward together, welcoming immigrants rather than suffering ICE raids, if you love the environment and want to see it cared for rather than the polluters taking over, if you love fully supported public education, if you want to love, not hate, and to have peace and not war, to stand against unchecked militarization and the militarization of our cities, then it is time to come together and mobilize our power and our passion for justice. Then we now are in a moment where we must move from resistance to loving forward and mobilizing our power. So from February 11th through the 14th, North Carolinians are going to be walking and marching and caravanning from Wilson to Raleigh. And on Saturday, February 14th, Valentine's Day, we will hold a massive People's Assembly for a moral agenda in Raleigh, North Carolina, saying it is time to love forward together. We are marching from a district that MAGA extremists, because of a call from President Trump, decided to gerrymander the 1st Congressional District, take it away from the people. And we are inviting all defenders of democracy and champions of the common good to meet us in Raleigh on February 14th to reclaim a moral agenda, an agenda for going forward, to pursue the society and the democracy that we want, not only for ourselves, but for our children's children. For somebody's been hurting our people, and it's gone on far too long, and we won't be quiet anymore. We will love forward together.